It is actually 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Monday edition of Swinging from the Hip. I'm just going back to my script. Where's it gone? There it is. It's our first one on a Monday night. And we were hoping to be able to get some of our guests back by moving it to Monday night, and we've succeeded. And we've got Sharubin. Welcome, Sharubin. How you doing?
Very good. Very good. Lovely to see you.
It's good to have you back on. It's like good that Monday nights work for the coaches.
Yes.
Well,
Very true.
coming up on our Monday night show tonight, we go back and look at what's been happening in the IPL this week. We have a quick look at the Plunket Shield, which kicked off today. We'll have a chat to our guest about how preseason is going in club cricket, and we'll look at the career of J.R. Reid, who sadly passed away this week that's just gone. But back to normal transmission. So we'll kick it in the guts with a bit of historical events in this week in cricket. And we go to the 14th of October in 1953, the birth of the first coloured man to play for England, Ronald Butcher. He was born in Barbados, but came to England at 14. And after success with Middlesex, he was called up for the Prudential Trophy
Woke
match
up.
against Australia at Edgbaston in 1980. So that was a bit of a head before its time, so to speak. And hello to Simon there in one of the YouTube chat rooms there. In 1989, the fourth one-day hat-trick. West Indies looked to be cruising to victory over Pakistan and Sharjah when Wasim Akram clean bowled Jeff Dujon, Malcolm Marshall, and Curtly Ambrose with consecutive deliveries. Pakistan eventually squeezed home by 11 runs. I don't remember it, but sounds like it would have been a good one.
For sure.
2005, the ICC Super Test in Sydney, and I do remember this vaguely. And I don't know if they had one more after that, but anyway, so this was the Super Test, the first one in Sydney between leading team Australia, who was the number one team at the time, even though they didn't really have rankings at that time. Australia was still considered number one, and a star-studded World 11 wasn't a spectacular success to say the least. Australia took 4 days out of a scheduled six. It was supposed to be a 6-day test to wrap up a 210-run victory. Now that
Oh,
side, the internationals included Rahul Dravid, Brian Lara, Mutai Mullaratharan. Leg spinners Stuart McGill and Shane Warne basically accounted for 15 of the 20 World 11 wickets. McGill trumping his feted partner with 9. And
yeah.
the World
Did
World
they
11, the World 11 were bowled out for 190 and 144.
did they play that in Sydney?
It was in Sydney. That's right.
Yeah. So in that around that time, Sydney was renowned as a turning wicket, and I I remember Alan Border, won a test for Australia against the West Indies with this very average left
Off
arm
spin.
tweakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he got 9 or 10 wickets in the match, which was
It's
unheard of.
interesting. It's interesting. You sort of say, as you say, back then Sydney was a turner.
Mm,
You'd go from
that's
Boxing
right.
Day, the match at Melbourne, and then it's like, oh,
Yes.
the the New Year's Day test in Sydney, and it's going to be on a turning pitch.
Mm,
And that myth still continues to today, doesn't it? Like,
mm.
we're going to Sydney. Oh, I'll have to pick spinners. It's like, when was the last
Nah.
time Sydney really turned?
Yeah, that's right. The thing is, I think Shane Warne he changed so many of those views, Ashwin, in terms of,
Mm.
he actually did well in Brisbane, for instance, where it bounces.
Bounces,
you
yeah,
know. Yeah,
yeah.
and there's a bit of a breeze, and even in Perth, again with the bounce, and the Fremantle Doctor was his thing because Warney drifted it in so much, and then if you can bounce it, he always liked bounce more than turn because he said that was going to be his thing,
I mean,
you know.
as a batsman, I mean, like, obviously at a very lower level, but even
Mm,
with when a spinner's turning it, you can sort of start to get used to the turn of the ball. One thing you just can't get used to is bounce and trying to control something that might just pop up a bit more than expected, and
That's
trying to get
right.
over the top of it. It's always so hard. Even the sort of
Yeah,
reading spin you can do, but bounce you can,
yeah,
harder to
yeah.
control.
Completely agree. Especially on a good length. If you can land it consistently on a good length, do you go back? Do you go forward? It's just all
You're
these
caught in
questions,
between. Yeah.
That's it. Mm,
So, moving on to the 15th of October, in 1990, the cricket world received its first introduction to the deadliest old ball partnership of them all. Who's that going to
yeah.
be?
Oh, I'd go for Waka and Wazim.
That's it. It is them. Waqar and Wasim. She had
Reverse.
10 wickets in a test for the first time, taking 15 in all as Pakistan thrashed New Zealand by an innings and 43 runs in Karachi. If 11
Mm,
of the 15 were LBW or bowled, it started a run in which Wazim and Waqar took 10 or more wickets between them in 18 of the 24 tests they played in together between 1990 and 1994. Yeah, absolutely.
amazing. Yeah,
You know,
amazing stat.
it's funny. I mean, I remember like a test match in Hamilton, and
Mm,
and we needed something like about 90 runs to win the
yes,
test,
I remember
and
that too.
Waqar Yunus just basically skilled us.
Oh,
And as a New Zealand fan, on one hand, it's like, oh, but to lose the test match, but to watch
oh,
Wazim and Waqar bowl was just, it was
mm,
great. I mean,
it was
even though
amazing.
you're playing against them and against
Mm,
your team, sort of thing.
mm.
But
No,
good
just
news. Yep.
yeah, complete
You,
complete awe. Complete awe for me. I remember that vividly. I reckon Taz probably remembers it a bit better than you and me, I'd say.
why's that then? Why's that? Oh, it was actually a really good test match.
Yeah,
I remember
it
Simon
was.
Doull actually picked up quite a lot of wickets too,
Yes,
with his swing bowling.
yeah, in swing, out swing, yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
But moving on to better news for New Zealand, on the same day in the year 2000, a historic day for New Zealand in Nairobi, and they beat India by
Oh, yeah.
4 wickets in the final of the ICC Knockout Trophy. That
Mm.
was the first, and sadly only, victory in an international competition for New Zealand. Um,
Mm.
I, this is the part that cracks me up about that when the hero was Chris Kens,
Mm.
who defied a dodgy knee. It seems like New Zealand has to have a player with a dodgy knee in a major tournament, who defied a dodgy knee to hit a brilliant and unbeaten 102 as New
Mm.
Zealand reached the target of 265 with 2 balls to spare.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing game.
it was a
Amazing
great game.
game. Mm. I
Didn't
I
feel like
remember.
I suppose being a pessimistic Kiwi, you always felt that you were never going to win the game though,
Mm.
until
Yeah,
we got the last run,
completely.
sort of thing.
Yeah, completely. And especially the way I remember, I think it was Tendulkar and Ganguly opened, and they were going great guns. And Chris Cairns came on to bowl, and because he had a dodgy knee, he kept bowling like slow balls. And these guys, everyone else was bowling, trying to get them out, and they were just sitting there smashing it. And he bowled, if I'm not mistaken, I remember he bowled a maiden, Chris Cairns, with slow
Right,
balls
slower
because
balls.
he couldn't do anything else because of his knee. And then that just stuffed them up a bit. And then suddenly, after being 80 for no loss in 9 overs or something, they got to only 260, which to me should have never happened. It should have
Yep.
got far more, which would
Yeah,
have been game
300
over.
plus. Yep.
Yeah, and game over. But yeah, and then we just batted out of our skins, and especially Chris Cairns. Oh,
Chris
play.
Kent.
I mean, at the
It,
peak of his powers, just he almost didn't do that enough in his career for me because he was such an incredible player.
oh,
But
look, we've had quite a few, and Chris Kent fits in this mold of guys that were just so much
mm,
better with the bat than what they actually delivered. Their bowling,
mm,
Chris Kent's bowling, he was never the opener. He was obviously third and fourth
mm,
coming in, and he did
mm,
his job in really well as that sort of coming in, following up the
all
opening
rounder.
bowlers and that, right, all rounder.
Yeah.
But the batting, he just felt he had more that he could have sort of
Ah,
given.
completely.
Yeah.
I'll share with you. I was at the Basin Reserve, Australia, New Zealand. Brett Lee, Shane Warne versus Chris Cairns, and I'll never forget it. Chris Cairns was smashing both Brett Lee and Shane Warne. And one particular shot off Shane Warne, he was standing, straight up, and the ball was outside his leg. He turned around and he almost straight drove it through square leg for six. It was like an unbelievable shot. And for Brett Lee, he was just short, short backlift and just trying to get bet on it pretty much. But if you get bet on it, it's gone.
The faster it comes
faster,
to you, the faster it goes.
Right, that's right. And just complete control of the bet face, And oh, look, I think Chris Cairns. I don't know. I mean, sometimes he did have his problems with coaches and this and that, and you wonder if you had a better man manager, would we have got more out of him? Who knows, man? Who knows?
Look, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, for one of the teams globally that can least afford it, some of our superstars over time have always had issues with the coaching staff.
Big time.
And the last few years, it's been way, there hasn't been any issues there. I think obviously the modern day management styles work a lot better.
Yes.
But going back, classic. Obviously, talking of Chris Cairns and Glenn Turner. Never really got on. No.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Turner, he didn't get on with many of them, But the thing is, Turner, to him, it was like, well played, like this. He just gives him a wink.
Yeah.
Not the old adulation that these guys are used to.
Here's a certificate.
Exactly. So, look, who knows? But but talking about that, even Richard Hadley, he had Jeremy Coney, who was his captain. He didn't get on
absolutely.
with him.
Didn't get on with them. They used to talk between somebody else on the field and pass messages between the two of them.
Like, I just find that amazing. Like, amazing that they played international cricket like that.
They played international cricket like that, and especially at home, the success that they still had.
Oh, phenomenal! I think they respected each other, but they couldn't. Just hated each other. It was just unbelievable. Just you just can't fathom a relationship like that these days. You know what I mean?
Not these days, no.
No.
So moving on, 16th of October in 1952. We remember that well, don't we? In Delhi, Pakistan became the 7th Test-playing nation. So that's their first introduction to Test cricket. Like most before them, they were hammered in their inaugural match. India eased to a victory by an innings and 70 runs in that one.
Right.
In 17th of October, 1998, the day that Mark Taylor equaled Don Bradman's record for 334 and then declared the innings. So basically, the story around this is obviously like he didn't want to pass Don Bradman's score. So there's actually a slightly there's a bit more information to it. He ended up on 334 at the end of the day's play, and he was contemplating batting in the morning, but he didn't want it to seem like he was only batting on to get to beat Don Bradman's score. So he declared the innings overnight.
That was interesting because that didn't happen later in the latter years when Matthew Hayden broke Lara's record, and then Lara broke Hayden's record again to get 400, and it was all of it. It was very interesting for me.
Beat that record.
Yeah, keep betting.
Don't worry about the game. We'll beat the record.
That's right.
Australia's in 1999 on the same day, Australia's record-breaking run of 16 consecutive Test victories started. They started it with a 10-wicket win over Zimbabwe in a one-off Test in Harare on this day. So that's that, and then they went on to 16 consecutive Test wins from there.
That's a pretty good record. Yep. That's a pretty good record. That's unbelievable.
And as a consecutive Test victory, so there was no draws in there either, was there? No. I mean, it's just like it's not like they got 16 wins without a loss and they had a few draws in between. No, it was 16 Test victories.
Look, it's the kind of thing that you think it's never going to get beaten. That something like that. I mean, you never know, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. It's just like you start to get records where you sort of think that's never going to get beaten. But I suppose at
No.
the end of the day, records are there to be broken as well.
Yes, exactly. Mm,
So in
mm.
1955 of 17th of October, Pakistan and New Zealand met for the first time. So New Zealand travelled over to Karachi to play Pakistan for the first time. Didn't go too well. Pakistan with a decisive win in that first contest between the two. 18th of October in 1969, the Hyderabad. I like these stories. The Hyderabad crowd went feral when and reacted badly when India were bowled out for 89 on the third day of the third and final test against New Zealand. The day had
Oh,
started badly when the groundsman admitted that he'd forgotten to mow the wicket, and New
oh
Zealand's
my God.
captain Graham Dowling refused to allow him to remedy the situation. So on a greener than usual surface in India, India slumped it from 21 for 1 to 49 for 9. But then Ventragravan and I've totally butchered his name and I apologize profusely. But I can say the next one, Bishan Beatty. They had a partnership for the last wicket for 40 for the and basically were able to
Interesting.
stretch out the score there a little bit before
Mm,
Bishan Beatty was dismissed and the crowd stoned the police and lit bonfires.
funny.
And they actually so the roof had a thatched roof and they tried to set fire to the thatched roof.
Oh my God. Unreal. Eh?
But it's interesting though, isn't it? Don't I mean, like, we I mean that it was something that we sort of became accustomed to um,
Mm,
from Indian supporters, and
mm,
the classic was when their team went overseas and performed badly, and the burning of effigies in the streets,
mm,
and the riots and that sort of thing. It all seems to have calmed down. They don't seem to get
mm.
so aggrieved when things don't go so well now.
I think hopefully they're learning, but who knows?
Yeah. Same day in 1992, Zimbabwe began life as a test playing nation
Right.
with a shocker of a draw against India. Now, I won't go into the details because it was pretty boring. The scoring was slow and laborious, and then India came into bat and were slower than Zimbabwe. So
Oh,
it
dear.
was, it was destined to be a draw. And finally, 19th of October, 1982, Pakistan wrapped up a clean sweep with a 9-wicket victory in the third test against Australia in Lahore. Only the
Mm,
second whitewash Australia suffered in the 20th century. Now, the first was in South Africa in 1969, 1970 season, and the next would only come in 2010 in India. So I think it just
mm,
goes on there. We talk about Australia's success, dominance. It's something that's just been in cricket over a long
mm,
period of time. We've talked about their 16 Test victories a little bit earlier. They are a very successful cricket team from when
mm,
cricket started, effectively.
mm. Well, the funny thing is, I mean, we just had the All Blacks play the Wallabies, and I think we might have talked about this on the show before. It's rugby to New Zealand is like cricket to Australia.
Mm.
You know, it's
Yeah,
very much their number one sport, and
it's
they just
it's
yeah.
it's, it's interesting, isn't it? It's almost not even talked about in terms of the fact is that cricket is Australia's number one sport by a long
Mm,
way, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
we go on about obviously most of the talk centers around winter sports, AFL,
Mm,
rugby league, soccer,
mm,
rugby, and netball, of course, for the females as well. But the reality is that cricket's far and
yeah.
away more popular than any other
Oh,
sport
big time.
in Australia.
And and even the people that play the winter sports, the likes of Cameron Smith and all those guys,
Mm.
superstars of the game, even they acknowledge that it's cricket, and they they'll turn up for a cricket game and try and play somewhere, or things like that. And that's why they're bloody good. And they spend, I think, their climate, even, it's good for cricket, most of the states.
Well,
And
what's happened in the last few years? In the last few years, we've been playing
mm,
cricket effectively in winter because they go play it up in
mm,
Darwin. They'll
that's
go
right.
play cricket in Darwin
That's
in
right.
winter. I mean,
That's right.
there's
And
been Yep.
And
Go.
Brisbane's another one. Brisbane's another one, Ashwin, where they actually the cricket in winter is better than in the summer because it's too hot in the summer. So they actually prefer to play in the winter, because the climate's better. But to me, they do cricket pretty well. I mean, not just internationals. Even if you go and play, Sunday game,
Yep.
the standard of cricket is up there, man. I lived in Melbourne for 3 years, and I tell you, it was tough. It was
Look, I mean,
any
like, yeah.
yeah. Carry on, yeah.
I was going to say, we've had Hussein on the show, obviously, and he's
Mm,
alluded to the systems and that they have in there. Rohit, he's got his brother-in-law who lives in Sydney, and
mm,
in an area called Mossman, and it says that they call it. It's funny because it's in Mossman, which is in New South Wales, Sydney, and it's
right,
called the Allan Border Oval, even though Allan
right.
Border's a Queenslander. But and he says the facilities there that his
Oh,
nephew that lives in Australia, who's 9, same age as my son, and it's just phenomenal. The practice sessions with
mm,
the young boys girls teams
mm,
is world class sort of thing, and just
mm,
phenomenal. And
mm.
no wonder. And then we sort of see, as Simon says, every Australian state basically, might as well have a representative team. That's world capable pretty much.
Mm,
I mean, obviously you're going to have the
mm,
odd off year here and there, aren't you?
mm. Well, the thing is, the Australian part of the reason, I mean, Australia's good, but they're not as good as they have been in the past, and that's partly due to the represent, the first class system. It's not as strong as it has been in the past,
Right.
and I think that's probably to do with other T20 things going on, and people maybe, but who knows? I mean, I've just heard murmurings that it's not as strong because they used to. The Sheffield Shield was, that was a tough
Yeah,
competition.
that was a tough
It's just
competition. It was, and
um,
you're right. I mean, like we've heard recently over the last year, in terms, especially with the Big Bash getting that higher profile, how
that's it.
that Sheffield Shield state one day competitions, etc., really don't
Mm,
really have
No,
the levels that they used to.
yeah, the kudos, the
Kudos. Yeah.
respect, yeah,
Yeah.
completely right, and
Now,
you know,
just
um,
digressing off that onto that, with your involvement in cricket and at the level that you're involved in, with all that focus on T20, really the pathways for somebody who's a builder of an innings, from if you're coming through the ranks, I would never make it in cricket today at all because I couldn't smash a ball, but I could. I was an opener. And I worked the innings, and I'd hold up an end while those runs were scored at the other end. There really isn't that place for that type of player anymore. You're
mm,
scoring runs at a greater rate. That's the way it
mm,
seems. Is that
mm.
sort of just the
Oh,
a perception, or is
look,
it actually reality?
no, look, the point is, like, if you look at Premier cricket or Premier Reserve cricket, which the Premier's where I'm involved, but also coaching reserves, and you got 2 day stuff, and then you got 1 day stuff, and then you got T20.
20, yeah.
But the prestige is still with the 2 days. If you
That's
win
good
the
to
two
hear.
days, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still there. So someone who does build an innings has a place. You just can't have everyone building innings. You got to have one person building an innings, maybe two, but the rest of them need to score once the ball's got older, because you want to try and progress the game in some respect to
Yep.
to try to get uh, so that you score quickly, so that you give your bowlers more time to bowl the opposition out.
Twice.
So, twice, so ideally you want to bowl first, but that doesn't, that sometimes works out, but sometimes obviously if it's too flat you can't, and
Yep.
you play a first innings game. But yes,
Oh,
Simon's right. Sky Sports too. I actually saw it today. The Sheffield Shield matches were on during the day. It was live on Sky Sports too, which is
not good for cricket fanatics, isn't it? When
no.
you know you your wife's telling you, "What are you doing? Are you doing some work or not?" And there's cricket on the TV.
And I mean, at the moment, it's so hard because there's IPL replays and then there's Sheffield Shield and all sorts going on. But I
This is
mean,
only
the
leading to
Sheffield Shield,
divorce.
yeah. Look, I just call it time management. Better time management, I think, is required. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's intriguing. I mean, the Sheffield Shield's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know enough about it to comment, but I know in the past it has been the main reason why Australia was so good.
Yep.
People.
Yeah. I mean, well, we had the Martin Crowe going to play in the Sheffield
Mm,
Shield competition for a year or
yes,
so. To basically get that competition effectively, but also
that's
it was also in preparation for a tour of Australia.
that's right. Yeah. Well, there was another guy that one of our greats, I believe, Aravinda De Silva. He
Yep.
played in he played first class cricket in just about every country. He played
Played for
in
the
New
Aces.
Zealand, played for the Aces. He
Mm.
played in South Africa, in Australia. I think he played in India. I think definitely in England for Kent. And that actually made him such a really good all-round player because he's used to the conditions in different countries.
Yep.
Very smart thing to do. I think
Yep.
as a batsman especially and a bowler because everywhere it's kind of different. I
But I
think
mean,
it's
it's. I think it's
extremely.
particularly smart as a batsman, isn't it? Because a bowler
Big
gets
time.
opportunities to change his game. The batsman's out once and he's gone. So
That's it.
for a batsman to
Big
adjust, come
time.
in, learn, adjust, learn the conditions.
Mm,
I remember Aravinda when he played for the Aces because there was this one game. It wasn't a big. They didn't have a big chase on, and and he just blasted the ball. This was pre
mm,
T20 as well. So
yes.
you didn't get the blasting like you do these days, but he just came in and the ball went to all
Ah,
parts of Eden Park #1, and it was on,
right.
and it was just phenomenal. It was awesome to watch.
Oh, look,
It's like the joke. So he must have needed to go to the toilet, bathroom, or something. So he had to get it over and done with quickly.
I mean, the thing with him is he was very short. I mean, like almost
Yeah,
extremely short. But that actually made him play the pull shot to balls that, taller batsmen or
a
average
fuller
height
ball.
batsmen would actually maybe be even on the front foot, maybe, or back
Yep,
foot, here.
yep,
But he could
yep,
just get under it and give
and
it
just
some.
swivel.
And I remember the 267 at the Basin Reserve. Oh, mate, the number of pull shots that landed in the R.A. Van stand was amazing, unbelievable, you know, and so different to the way we play, where we are more about, in New Zealand, we're all about play straight and,
Play
you know,
straight in the V,
yeah, in
in
the
the
V, and
V,
then
in the V.
when it's short, after about 50, you can go for it. And, it was just all that. Yeah, and that's fine. Everyone's different. But I was just amazed at the power that the guy got with such but he hit it. He absolutely hit it like with the
No,
kitchen sink.
stayed hit. Yep,
Mm.
absolutely. So
And
good, sort of like, well, obviously we've left a bit of our history there, but we'll move into obviously you mentioned that you're involved with the Prems as well as the reserves as well. How's the build up how's the build up been going towards the start of the season, which I believe is 31st of October?
it
How's it
is
been going for
indeed.
you? Been warm up games and the like, and
Yeah.
teams coming together?
Yeah, look, it's been good. It's I mean the the preseason wasn't as long, unfortunately, because of COVID and so on. But we, I mean, I think we're in a good position. We started, so not the weekend that just passed, but the one before. We went to the Premier Boys. 14 of us went to Hawke's Bay for a T20 tournament,
Oh yeah,
and the, basically the reason was not the T20. It was more the fact that you could play on grass and have a little hit round. And the pitches, the very on the Friday we played a game and the pitch was going everywhere. But to me that's okay. You just got to
Yep.
adapt.
Early
And
season. Yep.
absolutely. And I think we got 108 and we got them out for 72 or something like that. So it's just a bowler's game, and that's fair enough. That can happen in cricket. But I've got to say that the pitches were different to what we are used to over here. Like it had a bit more bounce, for instance.
Yep.
and it was shorter, almost like sort of had a bounce that was sort of sticky bounce kind of thing. It was a weird one,
Tennis ball.
um, kind of like a tennis ball, but it's definitely came through. There was some incredible. The biggest thing I took away from it is the number of young, good, fast bowlers in that region.
Yep.
And these
It's
guys
it,
were
but I
fantastic.
think
And
I think it's sort of like it's almost Hawke's Bay. I mean, I was there about 6 weeks ago, and we had a 24-degree day. That was about 6 weeks ago.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
so they
right.
get the great conditions to be able to produce those hard and fast wickets. That
That's
then
right.
these are the younger bowlers coming through get to bowl. And it's like going to Australia. You got a little slice of Australia
Mm,
there on the
very much.
east coast of New Zealand.
Very much. And the thing is, if you put a little bit of grass on the wicket, then it encourages the fast bowlers to bowl fast.
Mm.
And I tell you what, I mean, if you look at CD, the number of good fast bowlers CD has produced, I'd say in the last 10 years almost,
Last
is
10 years have been absolutely up. Yep.
phenomenal. And that's, I would say, part of the reason. But we were amazed at the standard of fast bowling from young fellas.
Yep.
One of the highlights was Jesse Ryder played against us in one of the
Oh,
games.
okay.
And
Yeah.
I tell you what, he still got it.
Oh,
Still got it,
yeah.
man.
Look, at
I
the end of
mean,
the day, we talked about, I can't remember who it was we talked about earlier Chris Gaines probably, and in terms of
mm,
management, and that, again, it was just the minders around Jesse Ryder. And I
mm,
don't mean minders in terms of bouncers, I just mean the influential role models in his life sort of
yeah.
thing, in his life that just weren't there at the right times of his life that meant
No,
that he
yeah,
lost his way. But I mean,
absolutely.
geez, let's face it. I mean, as a New Zealand cricketer, you knew that it was detrimental to the team's culture of having
Mm.
Jesse Ryder in there, but you wanted to see him play.
Oh, look, I mean, the guy, I think the guy, I mean, I don't know enough, but I believe he was pretty much a street kid, and people who, they took him in and they did things and whatever, but, oh, it's just unbelievable. The guy, our fastest bowler, right arm over, he was bowling sort of across him, and
Yep.
the wind was going towards point, so from sort of mid wicket, so leg side to offside. Jesse Ryder just little movement of the front foot, and just suddenly the hands would come through, and just massively good wrists, and it went for six over point because he just got it with the wind, and
Yep.
just smart, just absolutely smart. And I mean, we were just in awe. And we talk about playing late and under your eyes and stuff, and he just does it for fun. And it was just, and he was fantastic. He spoke with some of our young players. One of them sort of bowls a bit like James Anderson. I think
Yep.
he's his hero. And he was mimicking him, saying, "You're Jimmy Anderson. Are you related, mate?" and stuff like that. And he was just having fun. It's a,
But that's it. I mean, and he was a guy that enjoyed the game, just enjoyed the off field a bit too much.
yeah. Look, the thing is this. This is where, for me, if he was in a good school where he had good role models, good peers, a guy that really took him in and changed his mindset to, for me in
Focus.
cricket, yeah, sacrifice and discipline and resilience, all of those things are must have if you want to succeed in your cricket.
Yeah,
And to
look,
me,
yeah, and it doesn't matter. It's not just about your skills with the bat and ball, but it's mental skills as well. Talking to
absolutely.
one of the coaches at Suburbs Rugby Club, and
Mm,
he talks about the all the team go away and they've got extras. And I was like, what are
mm,
extras? And I didn't know. And this is like, it's like training's not just twice a week. It's like you've got twice a week
mm,
training, team training, and then you've got your extras. Have you done your
mm,
extras? Have you done your extras? What are you
mm.
doing? And part of those extras can be the mental side of the game as well, can't it?
Completely, just challenging yourself.
Mm.
Challenging yourself in different ways, and that intensity with which you train with. Just
I
answering.
brought that up
I
because
re-
I was gonna. He's pinched my question because I was gonna ask you that. I was going to
Oh,
say, hey,
look,
look, I mean, obviously these days we see a lot of kids are picked up early in terms of rep themes or talent identification, etc. But who are some of your talents, whether it's young or
oh,
old, that to keep an eye out for, or that other team should keep an eye out for in the Prince competition this year,
oh, look,
without giving away
Ashwin.
too much?
Yeah. No, look, I mean, our philosophy, me and my assistant coach, is we're just trying to upskill them in the preseason and make them better players. And we give them the opportunity. And the whole thing we say is make us have to pick you by your performance, i.e., in the Prems if they're in reserves or they're in the thirds, then to the reserves or whatever it is. And we've got a few young fellas who are, shoving the door down to try and make the Prems and so on. And that's great. And we keep giving them as much opportunities as we can. And we actually use the T20 as one of the springboards because
Development springboard, yep.
pretty much because it's on a Wednesday and some of the lawyers and accountants and whoever we have in our team, they can't make it to bloody Birkenhead on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock or 5:15 or whatever.
Yeah, because you got to
It's
leave the office
impossible.
at 3 to be able to make it at 5 for the
Yeah,
game.
exactly. And they'll be sacked. So
Yeah.
we so we actually used that, and that's what we did last year, and also partly because the 2 days, if you win, you get promotion, so that's a massive carrot. The one days, if you win, it's I believe the one days are the hardest. It's the hardest one to win because it's a really good competition. And then the T20, obviously the team that's the best on the day, they win. And the pools are very interesting. I mean, we are in a pretty tough pool. We've got Howick in T20. We've got Howick. We've got Parnell. And last year we played Parnell, and we had Mark Chapman play against us. And Mark Chapman got 70, and Howick got 140, I think, or 80
Right.
or something. Then we played Howick, and Glenn Phillips and Colin Munro played against us. I mean, you got almost no chance, never no chance, but almost no chance to
Yep.
beat them.
Only takes one mistake from them, and you're in the
Yeah,
money.
but they don't make many though, brother. That's the
So go on. Highlight one young fella coming through that we're going to keep our eye
uh,
out on.
look. I'll give you two. I think
Okay, give me two. Yep.
definitely. Yeah, for me, Carl De Beers. He's put a lot of work in this winter, and it's still ongoing. He's a leg spinner,
Yeah, I was going to say he's a spinner
um,
here, right? Mm.
and just got ridiculous the speed and the energy he gets from such a short sort of run up is massive, and he's actually got fitter and fitter and stronger and stronger. I don't think Carl will mind me saying before. I'd say 3-4 years ago, he was a bit of a podgy kid, and then suddenly, who went to McLean's, who didn't play cricket, so he came to Grafton, and or they did play, but
Yep.
lower
Lower
standard.
levels. Yep.
And he's just developed and kept developing, and he's had a great winter where he's worked on so many things. So
Yep. Not just his game,
I mean,
but fitness as well.
fitness, he's like ridiculous now. Like he's got to the stage where how that endorphins kick in, and he's on another level. Like I mean, you just like last year, I almost thought you're almost too strong for it because you get too strong. You're not the flexibility is not
I was
there.
going to say, as a cricketer, you can't have muscles
Mm,
on muscles. It just gets in the way effectively,
no,
doesn't it? You got to have that sort of dexterity and flexibility.
that's right. Flexibility is key for me. Shoulders, knees, back, whatever it is. But yeah, I expect good things from him, and he's only 2021, and the things he does is amazing. But the things he has to do is to become more consistent
Consistent.
because
Yep.
because leg spin end of the day, especially look, I think springtime's bloody hard because you get on a field and next minute it's cold and the captain tosses you the ball and you got to
Cold
start
fingers, cold
bowling.
hands.
Yeah, and it's tough, and especially if you're trying to bowl quick ragging leg spinners, it's not easy. So I mean, to me, he's one, and I think the other one's a definite guy that 3 years ago he played thirds. Last year, last year he played reserves and he did really well for us. And he's another one who's just trained the house down. And he's a batsman and a bowler. He's an all-rounder. He's the Jimmy Anderson. Bowls
Nah,
like Jimmy Anderson. And batting, he wants to bat higher up this year. And again, he's trained the house down. So you've got to give him a crack. And and the decisions we got to make in the next few weeks to try and see if we can get there. But Cameron, just trying to, we call him Cammy. Trying to think of the surname now, but Cameron's his first name, and
yep.
yeah, awesome kid.
That's good. We'll look
Yeah,
forward to both of them and seeing how they progress through the year. And have you
for
got one more
sure.
warm-up game or to go
Yeah, so
this week?
yes, so this coming weekend, sorry, Saturday the reserves are playing I think Parnell in a warm-up game, and Sunday the Prems are going up to Northland. We're playing at Cobham Oval
Yep,
against
nice.
Northland, so
Oh, wow.
which is a bit of a coup. I
Yep.
just emailed them hoping there might be something come up, but the coach there, Neil, forgotten his
Not going to say
surname
Neil
again.
Parlane.
Yes, it is. That
Is it
is
Neil
Neil. It is
Parlane?
Neil
Oh, wow.
Parlade. Yes, he's the coach. Well done, mate. And he's the coach, and they call him the Flea, and he knew my brother.
Yep.
He'd played together with my brother, and he was happy for us to come up and play a game, which to me, just playing at Cobham Oval, which is an
Playing at
international
Cobham
venue.
Oval. Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
fabulous.
an international ground.
That's right. So this Sunday's that, and again we've got to pick the teams tomorrow actually, and so
Yep.
and this is the thing, the selection's the hardest thing, bro. I mean, to me, I mean, it's obviously we have a way in which we select and we try our best to do the right thing, but again, it's just
Yep.
my
Sometimes
opinion
it's
and
hard
my
calls have to be made.
hard calls have to be made, and sometimes you just got to do it and hope that you've done the right thing.
Right thing.
It's
Yep. Because
one of
yeah,
those things.
exactly. You don't know until
Mhm.
the last ball's bowled.
No, and sometimes obviously I've watched cricket for so long, so you see someone in the nets and go, God, that guy's looking great, but is that going to transfer to the middle, or other guys who look like crap, and then they play well in the middle, so
That's it.
it's all hard. It's
Well,
bloody hard.
it's interesting. I mean, I suppose it doesn't show up in cricket so much, but in rugby it's a classic one because in rugby
Mm,
you can get oh, he's a lazy trainer or he just doesn't put the work in at
yeah,
training, but on the game day and it's just like he's just another player.
that's right. Exactly right. Exactly right. So
Well, we better move
then,
on to talk a bit of IPL, I
yeah,
suppose, and
yeah.
we're going to quickly run through results in the last week, and then we'll look at the table. So just October 13th, we're going back to. I think sort of roughly was when we've sort of last left it. We've got Chennai Super Kings had a win by 20 runs over the Sunrisers Hyderabad. 14th of October, Delhi Capitals won by 13 runs over the Rajasthan Royals. And just moving along my ticker tape here. On the 15th of October, Kings 11 Punjab won by 8 wickets. They've been having a pretty rough time, but they finally got one over the over RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore. Mumbai Indians that have been travelling along nicely got an 8-wicket win over the Knight Riders on the 16th of October. Royal Challengers Bangalore
That's the
finally
one we
got
were to.
by 7 wickets against the Rajasthan
Rajasthan.
Royals. Yep,
That's the one that De Villiers went crazy,
the
I think.
32 off 12 balls.
Yeah. Well, it
Let's
could have been 36.
hang on, I'll just do that. And scorecard there, and we'll just if I get this right, there we go. It's been a
Yeah,
while. It's been a week and a bit. We'll bring it up and see what
done
can we
well.
find it. There we go. De
Yeah,
Villiers. There we go.
Villiers
50.
not out.
Yeah,
55,
55 off
22.
22. And as you said,
250.
strike rate of 250. But I think, when we look at that, it doesn't really highlight the fact that, as you said, he actually scored
Mm,
30 runs off 12 balls, 32 runs, something like that,
mm,
off 12
mm,
balls. So
mm.
he just went nuts in a particular little stanza, and
Yeah,
it's just like game over, wasn't it?
yeah. And I love I think Gurkirat, who's he's half decent. That guy, he
Yep.
can play.
Yep.
And he was with him, and he only got 19 off 17, but he made sure that he put De Villiers on strike, and he just backed himself.
We know so well that
Mm,
when you've got someone on fire and the strike isn't rotated, we know what happens
yeah,
next. That player goes
that's
out.
right.
And so it is so crucial for the guy at the other end. He might be going runner ball only, but that runner ball is so valuable.
Mm, absolutely. I've got to give us a plug from a while ago where we did
Yep.
pick RCB, Mumbai, and Delhi to be up there
Right.
in our very first show. Do you remember
To me,
that?
yeah, I remember you picking everybody to be up there.
No, no. Kings 11. I didn't pick them.
Yeah,
The
you did.
anyway, look, but to me, I mean, look, proudly wearing my Delhi Capitals
Shirt.
um, shirt, which I mean, they've been just been fantastic. Been so good to watch. Um,
So
you know,
we'll go on to so Delhi Capitals again, another one there with that 5-wicket win over Chennai Super
yes.
Kings on that same day as AB
Mm.
de Villiers going, and then we came to this morning,
Oh,
and
amazing,
two crazy
amazing.
matches, two crazy
Yeah,
matches. Knight Riders winning a super over Sunrisers.
yeah.
Lockie Ferguson getting the job done for the Knight
Oh,
Riders there. And he
mate.
hasn't had game time.
Oh,
I
I just
retired. Yeah, carry on. Sorry, I'll tell my
yeah.
story in a second.
Look, for me, it's funny. I don't want to be
Jinx him.
jinx him or even just say anything bad about him, but he was training the house down at Les Mills. Like, I mean, I don't go that often, but
Yep.
once in a while when I do go, I see him there. And so he must be going there all the time for me to see him every other time that I go. And
Yep.
we had a bit of a yarn, and he was humming. He was missing cricket, and he was really humming. And I wonder if this is a real strategic decision by KKR to play him this late in the tournament so that he can now play every game
Yep.
because he can sustain it till the
Right.
till the
Right.
finals.
Instead of sort
You
of
know,
like the energy just slowly sort of
big
peters
time
out, sort of thing. If you started.
at the start. But I mean, Delhi Capitals, they played their number one bowling quartet from the start. Rabada and Noshke and stuff. So
Yep.
it'll be
Yep.
interesting what happens later on in the season to see if the fast bowling is going to
The
be a little
reserves
bit
start
less
to
or
die
not.
off.
That's right. Now,
Yep.
I mean, Rabada, he's class, and we've seen game in, game out. He's just been, the decisions he makes, has been fantastic. And I've got to give Taz a plug here because he did pick the fast bowlers to do better in the
The-
UAE than in India, and
right.
that's
Yep.
exactly what's happened. I
Yep.
mean, there's been a few finger spinners like Aksa Patel and so on who've done pretty well,
Yep.
but for the most part, it's been fast bowlers who are doing really well, and
We'll
and the
bring that up
pitches,
in a second. We'll bring that up in a
yeah,
second, and we'll just go through who's doing what where. And now I'll just quickly my embarrassing moment of the week for myself.
yes,
I went along to the Aces sort of Auckland Cricket Open Day at Eden
oh
Park,
yeah,
and I'll give a plug out to Machine Road, which Lockie Ferguson and his brother are developing,
yes,
which is a speed speedball radar using your phone. It's an app and the like. And anyway, I was talking to him, and I I got Lockie mixed up with Michael Bates.
Ah,
And I was like, I was talking to his brother as like, oh yeah, he'll be over there, part of the coaching structure. He's like, he's only 28, he's playing.
but I think it's interesting. Lockie's brother, isn't that Michael? Isn't it Michael? I don't know, but I think
No, no, no.
Lockie.
I look, I forgot his brother's name. Sorry,
Yeah,
and I apologise
right.
profusely. But yeah, go check out that Machine Road.
Yeah,
It's worth having a look at.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's a
Fantastic
great
to see.
tool.
Look, for me, a young fella like Lockie and his brother to be doing something like this, I mean, this could be on everyone's phone to check
Yep,
how fast do I bowl. But it's not just that. It's actually more. Hussein was telling me that it's more. It's got more applications than just the speed.
yep,
There's more things in there. I mean,
yep.
I've definitely got to check it out one day to see how it is.
I'll
But
just
look,
hang on. I'm just gonna. Oops.
yeah.
Are you there? Are you still there? I'll
Yeah,
just
I'm
bring.
good.
I'm just give it a few seconds. This is what they actually once it opens up. It's taking a while to
Right.
open up, but so we
Fantastic.
can. But
No, but again,
yeah, it's like
Lockie,
they're taking screenshots. It basically takes a
right.
screenshot. I'll bring it onto Facebook, so I'll bring that up now. It's there.
Yeah.
So
Look, Lockie.
that's it. There we go.
Oh, I
That's showing.
see.
Yeah, so that's that. It'll tell me giving you a description of the delivery length, etc. Gives you a
Yeah,
speed as well.
right,
Yeah, and in this particular one, the ball pitched and cut back and hit the top of leg stump.
right. Interesting.
But
Mm,
that's the feedback that you're getting as well. So
mm,
yeah, it's not just the speed ball radar function, and they're building
mm,
more capability into it as well.
As they go.
Yeah.
No, look, he's a lovely guy. Seriously, Lockie, to me, just one of the loveliest fellas. And the way he bowled this morning was phenomenal and so smart. He's got this
Oh,
little leg cutter slower ball thing that hits the top of off stump. I just can't fathom how he can do that.
it it's not
And
just about speed, is it? It's the fact is
nah,
that it's using the full skill set because two
big
of the
time.
wickets in there. Oh well, they're like the two of the wickets that they showed in the highlights were actually from slower deliveries, not from fast
That's
balls.
right.
Yeah,
That's right. The only lucky one was, I think, Williamson, which he bowled a short one, and Williamson could have hit it anywhere, and he just hit it
yeah.
straight to third man, which was a shame. But that's life.
That's
That's
right.
cricket.
And then I'm going to let you because I didn't. I had to rush off because I was been working all day since 7 this morning. Um, but two super
Very
overs
good.
in the second match.
Yeah, so I watched the highlights of
This is
the
Mumbai
second
Indians
game
and Kings
today.
11.
That's it, and it was unbelievable. So let me think what happened. I think it was yeah, Mumbai were chasing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and they looked like it was going to be a little bit too much, but they finally got there, and then they just drew. No, sorry, yes, that's right. And then it was super over, and they tied the super over, and it was something ridiculous. It was 6 runs or something like that, and they tied it. And then there was another super over, but the interesting thing I noticed was everyone had to be different. The bowlers and the batters had to be different to the first super over. It couldn't be the same people.
Ah, is that a
Yeah,
rule? That's a sort
I
of a
think
rule that you can't use the same guys on the first super
no.
over.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I watched it highlights. It was highlights, all right. It was every ball was a damn highlight, because it was just and to fit 2 super overs plus a full game in. It was really good stuff. I was watching it with the boys, with my 6 and 4 year olds. The
Yep.
6 year old was just loving life, watching it. And in the second super over, unfortunately, that's right. The first super over, um, the Boomerang bowled and just bowled an amazing over, where hardly any runs. And then Shami came on, and he bowled an incredible super over to I think Rohit Sharma and the South African guy, De Kock. And so they tied it. So they had another one, and unfortunately, Trent Bolt was bowling to Chris Gale, and he missed the first ball, and he was a full toss. And you know what happens with Chris
Yeah,
Gale.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, like what we've seen. We talk, I can't remember we actually talked on the show or before the show. A lot of low overs in the super overs, right? And it's like, but
mm,
what that shows with Trent Bolt missing that first ball, it's about getting momentum and rhythm, right? In
mm,
bowling or batting, and it's like to give. If you can get that first ball away,
yeah,
then you're going to get a few more balls away.
completely.
If you if you get jammed up on that first ball, and then those demon thoughts get into
Mm,
your head, it's like, oh, I've got to
yeah,
hit the next under the fence, and there's
that's
just
it.
more pressure.
It's pressure. The pressure is the
Mhm.
word. And to me, the one thing that I think affects any player is pressure.
Yep.
You know, the more pressure that you apply on that first ball, you can apply more and more pressure if you get that first one right.
Yep.
You know, and unfortunately, Trent didn't get it right, and it was too hard from there because
From there.
Gale,
So pressure,
yeah,
it's gonna crush you, or it's gonna turn you into a diamond.
big time. And the thing is, as a player, if you know it, you can actually challenge the 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 big
The
guns,
opposite. Yep.
whoever it is.
That's it.
And that's the key. It really is. And the lovely thing with cricket is you can't you can't take away some of the basics. The basics still apply.
That's
If
it.
you bowl a ball that's going to hit top of off stump, doesn't matter what your pace is. The batsman has to take a risk to hit that away. Those are some of the basics. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Well, talking of pressure and delivering, KL Roll still there at the top of the table, so he's
mm,
maintaining his position. And when we look at it,
right.
he's got a decent lead at the top of the table there.
Mm.
It's
And
525 runs, it's an average of 75. Now, after 9 innings, it's not a fluke, is it?
no, he's a good player, but he's the captain, so he's really leading by the front there. But
Yep.
his opening partner is number two, which is interesting. But they've only won
What's
three
going
games.
on? What's going
Ah,
on? You got the two top player batters out
mm,
there. Their strike rate's not too bad. KL Rolls is a little bit on the low side for somebody at the top of the table, but at the end of
mm,
the day, you got two guys at the top of the, and you're struggling on the table, which we'll have a look at
mm,
shortly.
yeah,
Yeah, look, I mean, it's still when we look at it amongst the top five. Apart from Faf du Plessis, it's great news for your Indian selectors, Indian
Indians,
supporters. And
yes,
the fact is that
very much.
it's all your homegrown talent. It's not the
Yeah,
internationals that are up there.
very much. Yeah,
So
and
so yeah, Raquel Rahul at the top of the table in the bowling. So we'll look at the wickets coming to the wickets. And again, Jasper. Well, sorry, no. Rabada,
Rabada.
as you were saying, Rabada at the
Yeah.
top with 19 wickets. That's
Mm.
actually that's strike rate. That's a great
Oh,
strike rate, isn't it?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And look at the economy even. It's
Economy.
seven.
Yeah.
It's to me that's bloody good.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
he's look, I think, and this to me, lockdown. He's he's used his lockdown really well because I think he's looking mean and fit, and he's just going great guns, and he really wants to bowl at the
Yep.
end of the innings and be the finisher, and
Take
he's
take
just
that responsibility on being
that's
effectively
it,
be the senior bowler.
that's it, and he's done so well, man. He's really kicked the opposition where it counts. When
Yep.
they do something, he'll just bowl a Yorker or bowl a back of a length. The options he's taking are just on the money. The control of his length is just phenomenal, Ashwin. So yeah,
And
fabulous.
we're looking at bowling economy, and we'll bring that up. And well, he's only
Ferguson.
had one
Oh,
game,
well,
so it's
one game,
possibly a little bit
yeah,
deceptive, isn't it?
yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, if we have a look at that, what we can tell from that, I'm assuming here, is that the super overs doesn't seem to be included, or did he not
No.
bowl his full 4 overs?
Well, in the super over, he bowled point well,
Three.
3 balls. Yeah,
Three
three
balls.
balls, and he got
Yeah.
2 wickets.
Wicket,
So,
wicket, wicket, run, wicket, wasn't it? Something like that?
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and to
Hey,
me,
so
the
actually,
surprise.
so
Yeah, carry on.
if that means that, I mean, like in their game, they only had the one super over. So if he bowls the first super over, he can't bowl the second one if there was a second super
No,
over. Right.
no. Very interesting. Yeah, those are interesting stuff. Chris Morris is a interesting one for me
That's a
again.
surprise.
But he's looks like at RCB, he's finding his feet. And this is you just don't know who's going to do well where. I like Axar Patel. I think he's
Yep.
been phenomenal in terms of what he's done for Delhi.
Got nothing to do with the fact that you got the Delhi Capital shirt on, right?
No, not at all. But no, look, I just think this is a typical guy who is bowling with a real plan, and it's actually contributing to him batting better as well whenever he has, seems to have a bat. So
Yep.
just that confidence is flowing through everything he does, which is great.
That's good. So they're basically, yeah, Lockie Ferguson, bit deceptive there, I suppose, after one match. We'll see how he goes. As they say, hopefully he starts there. Maybe that was the game plan all along for KKR, starting
Mm,
him sort of midway through the competition, and
mm,
then having him fresher towards the latter stages. And
yeah.
obviously he's repaid that faith so far. Let's see if he can keep it
Mm,
going. So
mm,
moving to the table, if I've got the well, hey, I clicked on the right link. We've got your team, the Delhi Capitals, there at the top. Um, Mumbai Indians, Royal Challengers Bangalore, and Kolkata Knight Riders, the top four
mm.
at this stage. And it looks like
Yes.
they're starting to move away from the bottom four.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very important next game for the likes of Sunrisers, Chennai, and Rajasthan and Kings 11 for me.
Yep. So
Um,
the next week is going to be crucial.
yeah. I mean, if they don't get a win there, it's there's going to be a definite top four, bottom four.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
if Delhi, Mumbai, Royal Challengers, and Kolkata keep winning, then there's going to be a definite top four,
Yep.
top four, bottom four, which probably not
Which
best
means
for the competition.
I was going to say for the competition, it's going to be a bit of a shame because effectively you've got
Yeah,
your semi-finalists already done and dusted. You're
almost.
just going to be
Yeah,
fighting over which position there and who's
that's
playing who.
right. I mean, to me, Delhi and Mumbai, I was going to say, but then Royal Challengers Bangalore are right up there as well. I
Yep.
mean, they've won majority of their games. I mean, I think Delhi lost two, and Mumbai and Royal Challengers Bangalore have lost
Right.
three,
Yep.
and that's pretty good going because every team has got match winners, man. I mean, it's just chocker,
Yeah, it is.
all the all the best players are pretty much playing there. So
Yep.
it's a great competition. It really is for me. And yeah, and there's still a fair few games left.
Yeah, there are still quite a few games left, and I mean, like you look at, so we've got like coming up tomorrow, uh, Chennai and Rajasthan Royals, so they'll both be fighting tooth and nail, as I said, to get the win out of that one, so that can start
Mm,
trying to get closer to that top four. Both of them at
yeah.
the languishing at the bottom. Kings 11 up against sort of against your Delhi Capitals, and AJ was quite sort of optimistic about the Kings 11
Mm,
pre-season start, but this is starting to get
mm,
desperation time for the Kings 11.
mm.
So they'll
Only
be on
thing
the
is,
20th.
yeah, they've won their last two, which is a
Yep,
which is a good thing. So you can
good sign.
almost
They're on the
say there's a
right way.
yeah, right trend. The
Mm.
people that concern me are people like Chennai. I mean, to me, look at those last 5 games. They got a win, loss, loss, win,
Lost.
loss.
Yep, yep.
And
No
to me,
consistency there.
no. And they're just they're looking a little bit, dare I say it, a bit old and stale, and even the young guys are looking a bit stale, like the likes of Jadeja, who's a match winner,
Yep.
but just not looking likely. So yeah, interesting, man. I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
Who
That's it.
knows?
We'll see. Well,
Mm,
this week I think, as I said, this week we'll sort of we've been waiting
mm,
for the first few weeks. And it's just like everybody stayed bunched, and there wasn't really much happening on the table. We're
mm,
starting to get that separation this week. Coming week will be interesting to see whether the
mm,
teams that are in the bottom four, whether they can sort of make a lunge for that top four and rescue
mm,
their season, or will it be all over? I think by the time
mm,
we're talking about it next week, some teams are going to have
mm,
find that they're planning for next year or
I
6 months
agree.
away, which is when it starts
Yeah,
again.
that's right. I think next Monday there'll be either will go, oh, the bottom team's caught up, or and it's a close competition, or
Yep.
there's definitely a divide
Start planning for next
between the
next time.
yeah. I was going to
That's
say
it.
between the haves and the have-nots,
Yep.
but yeah, we'll have to see. Mm,
Well, moving on to I suppose the sad news of the week, and one of New
mm,
Zealand's greats, and some of the stats when you go look at them are just phenomenal. But John Reid passed
mm,
away this week at an age of 92. Before he passed away, he was New Zealand's oldest surviving Test cricket player, and sort of it's sad, but I mean obviously these things happen. But yeah, it's like one of New Zealand's greats passing on.
mm. I think he was part of that. Wasn't he captain in the very first win we had? We had very first
Yep,
test win against
he was
South
the
Africa, I think.
he was the captain of the first win against South Africa.
Mm,
It was an interesting talk because it's you know he that win he got his highest test score in the same win as
right.
well, and then you got to remember it's in South Africa. Um,
Mm,
and it was at a time when South Africa actually had some very fiery
mm,
fast bowlers, and I know
mm,
that a lot of the team were quite banged up, and they retired, hurt, coming back,
mm,
and all sorts.
mm,
So, and he was captain around that time, and obviously still keeping that
mm,
motivation up,
mm,
and obviously a strong leader, and sort of follow me, boys type of person.
mm. Yeah, I think one of the things I read was that he batted with a bold sense of purpose. And
Right.
to me, that sounds like not a backward step. And he was very proud of the hooking in terms of he said you're either a hooker or a ducker, and if you got a fast and the helmets weren't there in his time, so
What's the
basically if
helmet?
you yeah so there's a fast ball coming at your head, you hook it, and if you get it for six, great, but if you miss it, then your head could be in trouble. And to me, I
Yep.
can't even fathom that, having grown up with helmets all our lives.
Yep. That's it.
It's such a risky thing to do, and I think most people would have just ducked. If you're not a good hooker, you just duck. But he
Yep.
he took people off.
Well, was it? I mean, I'm digressing from our topic at the moment, but it's just like people learnt to pick the ball to
Mm,
either sway, duck, or you
mm,
played it, and
mm,
it's just something that you got used to. I never
mm,
played with a helmet ever,
right,
and it's just like you just got it's just something you did.
mm,
Obviously, I never faced the pace of the bowling that John Reid did. But
mm,
yeah, and you sort of think as an element of these days, whether
mm,
players, because they're not accustomed to it, then and actually we're getting more injuries these days with helmets on
mm,
than we did before helmets came along.
mm. No, I agree. I agree. Look, I'm just reading something that he said.
Yep.
And it said, fast bowlers never worried me because I was a hooker. Either you hook or you let it go. You
Yep.
might get hit in the shoulder a couple of times, but so what? Without helmets, and helmets were invented 18 years after I retired, if you got hit on the head, if you got hit on the head, you were dead. So you had to get out of the way or hook. And if you hooked a fast bowler, he didn't bowl too many more there.
Yep.
So, I mean, I love you can see the kind of person he was in terms
Yep.
of, no nonsense, lead
I was
from
gonna
the
say,
front, take
lead
them
from the front,
on.
not taking a
Yeah,
backward step. Exactly, take them
no.
on. It's just like,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. And it's just
mm.
like it wasn't just with the bat. He actually did bowl as well.
Bowl.
So
Yes.
you know,
Mm,
I think he was part of the a team that went to England and did well over there as well. So
Yes. It says he's a bustling, fast medium bowler with clever variations and an excellent fielder who could also keep wickets to a high standard. So look,
yes, that's what
he
that
was
he actually is. That tour of England, he actually ended up
mm,
keeping wickets in one of the matches. And
right.
I think okay, oh, I won't say it because I think I'm getting my stats wrong. But yeah, I think he won. There was another test he won as well with New Zealand as a
Mm,
first as well. So, but
yeah.
look, a phenomenal talent that
Mm,
New Zealand had, and it is obviously is unfortunate just at a time when I mean, we had good players, yeah, but
mm,
we didn't have the strength within cricket that we have today.
no.
And that would have meant that his, because obviously we've gone through the times which we knew of with the Richard Hadleys and the Martin Crows, where
Mm,
teams were
80s.
built around one player, or
Mm,
and we did have some success, but generally you don't have success off having one strong player. You got to have
mm,
multiple, if the whole, or if not the whole team, having some strength.
mm, mm. And
So
a
yeah,
role, I think. The for members of the team to have a particular role which they did really well.
yeah,
Even if it wasn't like a Richardson who played only 3 shots, but he played them really well. So,
yeah,
that meant that, he averaged close to 50,
yep.
which was amazing considering he was a spin bowler who became a batsman, but he studied the game and analyzed it and made it a success.
I mean, like digressing here totally, but just on the Mark Richardson thing, I think, you know, everybody wants to have a go at Mark Richardson. He's retired how long ago, but they still want to have a go. The guy's phenomenal, really. When you think
Oh,
about, as you just said, he was a spin bowler when he went to
mm,
Otago, and he turned
yes.
into effectively, people will scoff. Some people will scoff at this, but a world class test
Mm,
match opening batsman who didn't throw his
mm,
wicket away. He knew his
no.
limitations. He did his job as a test match batsman, holding up an
Mm,
end. Questionable whether he should have played one dayers. And he'll
yeah.
probably admit to that, especially when
Yeah.
he ran out Brendan McCullum. Um,
Yes.
but as a test match batsman, did his job 100,
Mm,
110%, you'd say,
yeah.
using
I
sporting
agree.
terminology. And it's just like to mock someone who
Mm,
reinvented himself into that success level is
mm.
just ridiculous.
No, he actually, I mean, he's got a very, very sharp cricketing mind. He's
Yep.
just a bit of a
Yeah.
personality, and obviously
Can
nowadays he's
push
just
people
a
up the wrong way.
DJ. Yeah, and that's his job to push people the wrong way
Yeah,
to
that's
to
it. Push
get
the buttons.
get a
Yep.
reaction. And but yeah, look, but just on John Reed, I think it's important we remember and acknowledge these guys who are such a big part of New Zealand cricket history. I mean, this guy paved the way for future generations, and I mean, even Martin Crowe when he passed away. To me, he's done so much good for the game,
Yep.
especially in the latter part of his life.
How would you like to
Um,
see players like? I mean, as I said, John Reed. I mean, like, even though it was outside of our era of ever seeing him play, we still
yes,
know of John Reed. We know the caliber of John Reed and
mm,
how good he was for New Zealand. How do you think
yes.
they should be sort of remembered or honoured, and what should be
Mm.
done?
Oh, good question. Look, it's a very good question. I mean, I think Richard Hadley got the old title of Sir, didn't he? And
Yep.
I think the only cricketer to have it while he was playing, might I
Yes,
add. But I think,
sir. Would you
look,
like
I
the
mean,
bowl?
yeah, that's right. Sir, can I have your cap? And but yeah, look, it's a fantastic question. I mean, to me, John Reid in particular. I mean, you look at New Zealand teams, and when we've been successful is when we've been like this, a little bit, up the opposition kind of thing, instead of being too nice and whatever else, which
Would be in their
kind
face.
of, yeah, in their face. It's very similar to like Sri Lanka. For years and years, they were nice,
The
nice
nice guys
people
of,
and
yeah,
nice
nice guys.
cricketers, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
They'd
yeah.
lose and they'd smile and stuff.
Yeah.
But God, they changed that with Ranatunga, who just said, nah, stuff them. And yeah, pretty much tell everyone off. And they won a World Cup because of that.
Yeah.
So, look, it's a really good question. And I mean, to me, New Zealand cricket uh, officialdom should be thinking about things like this,
Mm.
which,
They
what
need
do
to.
we do?
I think in terms of yeah, as you say, we've got Richard Hadley who's been knighted, and I'm struggling at this point in time to think of another cricket player that's actually been knighted. And
Mm,
really, it's for New Zealand cricket and the administration to push
mm,
for those honours. I mean, obviously a player doesn't push for themselves. I mean,
nah,
we know that doesn't. That's not.
mm,
It's just not right. But
mm,
administration should be pushing for those players and,
mm,
to be getting those honours.
mm,
As said, because to acknowledge it. For my mind, I mean, we seem to finally be moving it's glacial, our movements, but we're
mm,
moving in the right direction. We've got around the world, we have like Australia's probably the best example where they go and name stands after their
mm,
greats and the like. And you know, why I mean, Eden Park has a couple of statues around it in terms of we've got Michael Jones, obviously a rugby player outside of Eden Park and the like, but we need to see a lot more of that. We need to celebrate our successful people,
mm,
the leaders of our sports, our community, whatever it is, and to celebrate
mm,
the to celebrate what they've achieved, what they've done for the
mm.
country,
And
but it
remember
also
them.
and remember
Mm,
them. But I think that's who people look up to, and even if they're gone
mm,
or they've stopped playing or whatever, you still see that person, and you hopefully, especially children, and that are striving to be that statue, whoever that
mm,
that guy is,
mm.
you know. But
I
to
agree.
remember them, yeah, and it sort of like
Mm,
leads to it, sort of thing. So I think
mm,
our administration of sport need to step up because we're a
mm.
country that doesn't really celebrate success.
Nah, nah, not
We
not
don't.
enough.
No, not
No.
enough. We
Mm,
basically, and I know I'm way guilty of this myself. Is just like, well, yeah, that was a good achievement. Well, next one. What's next? You
yeah.
don't take that time to celebrate anything. You just move on to, well, that's fish and chip paper. What's next?
Yeah, I agree
So,
with
I
you.
mean,
Look, I love that. I love what you said about even a stand or, a statue somewhere
mm,
pertinent. It
yeah,
has to be the appropriate thing,
yeah.
in a place that John Reed maybe called home. I'm not, I don't know enough about John Reed to say that, but
Well, interesting enough, I mean, he lived out his later life in Auckland, but his playing career was for Otago and Wellington.
right,
Basin Reserve, on the entrance of the Basin
classic.
Reserve
Oh,
would be a statue of
yeah.
him there in a classic pose shot, whatever,
Mm.
a hook.
Yeah, there you go. Are you putting your hand up, Ashwin?
Yeah, not very good sculptor, mate. Not very good sculptor. It might end up like looking like a stick man. Like look like a pack and save ad.
No, but really good idea. And, I mean, hopefully someone's listening who can make something like that
Like
happen.
that.
Because to me, even at the gates, maybe, the John R. Reed gates, or I don't
Yep.
know, even if there is something already, I'm not,
Yeah, I was just wondering if
I'm
there is
not
something
sure.
in the basin or not. But yeah, if
Mm,
not, then we need to start looking at those sorts of things.
I
Absolutely.
can't agree more. I can't
Well,
agree more.
that looks like a good place to leave it. We've done our normal
Mm,
and gone over time as we always do.
we do.
As we do,
There's
as we
no
do.
no problems, me and you talking, brother. That's for sure.
Well, I think the great thing I've learned about today's show with little preparation is that we put out a great show without preparation as well.
Yeah. That the only thing is, it's very hard to do it by yourself because you need to, this whole,
Back and
yeah,
forward.
tit for
Yeah,
tat.
absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise
Absolutely.
it's too hard.
Well, it's
Yeah,
been great having you on the show, and we look
thanks.
forward to
Loved it
getting you back on the show as well as some of the other guys as well.
for
And uh,
sure.
and hopefully, one of the other things we look forward to as the season now starts to get
Mm,
underway locally is to get some feedback. What's happening in at the grassroots level? So it'd be great
mm,
to obviously with your involvement there. Taryn's involvement, obviously, as well, and Hussein with Parnell,
mm,
Taryn with Cumu, to
mm,
understand what's happening at grassroots level. If you're out there and listening, if you're in other parts of New Zealand, get honestly DM us, because we'd love to talk to you as well in terms of what's happening at
mm.
grassroots level at your club around the country. So, but in terms of today, thank you very much for being on the show today, Shruban. Thanks for everybody
Pleasure.
tuning in and watching this and listening to this. And remember to download this onto your podcast device and listen to us on the run, on the go, and make sure you're tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio during the week. Obviously, now swinging from the hips on the Monday night, so the best night of the week is now on Monday. Tuesday nights, we did have basketball. I believe the NBA season is over, and so we'll be looking to bring something else there. Wednesday nights, we've got the league show. Thursday nights will be your home for your rugby discussion on general topics. And then Friday will be the preview for the rugby coming up over the weekend. And Sunday, we'll be looking at a review of what's just happened. But remember to keep it here for your cricketing fix with Swinging from the Hips. And we'll see you back again here Monday night at 8 p.m. And thank you for watching.